Hey, listeners of the Bio Report, I want to tell you about a new member benefit from the California Technology Council. CTC has teamed with Reprivata to offer members 6 months of Reprivata's COT network service for free, which gives companies the power of a VPN at a fraction of the cost. A remote, flexible workforce is the new normal, but most corporate networks aren't built to accommodate work from home at scale. Reprivata's COT network offers an easily deployable, affordable, and scalable solution to securely enable remote workers and protect the corporate network. To learn more about this and other member benefits, go to californiatechnology.org/member benefits. I'm Daniel Levine, and this is the Bio Report. Delivering biologics orally rather than through injection has been an intriguing goal, but has proven difficult. Most efforts have focused on finding ways to turn these large protein molecules into formulations where they would not break down along the digestive tract before they could be absorbed and provide a therapeutic benefit. Rani Therapeutics has taken an unusual tact. Rather than reconceiving the biologic, Rani has reconceived the pill itself. The company has developed what it calls a robotic pill that carries the therapeutic to the gut, where it injects the drug into the wall of the intestines. We spoke to Mir Imran, chairman and CEO of Rani Therapeutics, about how the Rani Pill delivers biologics orally, the technology underlying it, and how the company thinks about the opportunities it will pursue. Mir, thanks for joining us.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm pleased to be here.
We're going to talk about Rani Therapeutics' effort to develop biologics orally, the potential for this technology, and the technology underlying this. What's the range of therapeutics we're talking about, and how big a market opportunity are we talking about?
Well, that's a great first question to start with. So the range of biologics, there is no constraint on which biologic we can deliver. For instance, we can deliver peptides like insulin or PTH, human growth hormone, or therapeutic antibodies like Humira, Cosentyx, and others, and other larger molecules that are like factor VIII, for instance, for hemophilia. So there is no constraint on the kind of molecule we can deliver. So therefore, the market that we address is really in $150 billion overall market that we can target, and we can get a small piece of that, and that would be a great outcome.
What's the case for doing this? What problems would be addressed, and what benefits would there be?
So, when I started looking at this problem of daily injections, and I found out that people have tried turning, insulin into oral formats, or even inhaled insulin, and there are other drugs people have tried turning them into oral. In fact, over the last 50 years, there have been more than 100 attempts made at trying to convert a few of these peptides into oral. And the vast majority of those efforts have failed. There are a handful that have had some success. And when I say some success, what I mean is bioabsorption, or bioavailability as it's called, or amount of drug that is absorbed, is less than 1%. So Compared to sub-Q injection, you're throwing away 99% of the drug because the enzymes in the gastric GI tract really digest and break down. And so the chemistry approaches that are employed cannot protect the drug long enough and well enough to get better than 1% absorption.
Have there been other challenges to doing this?
The significant amount of effort that has gone into this chemistry based approaches where they try to block the enzymes with enzyme blockers and permeation enhancers that essentially denude the mucosal lining. So that those attempts have worked in very small biologic molecules. To my knowledge, no one has tried delivering therapeutic antibodies with this approach, and I doubt if that will work.
Well, Ronnie has taken what I consider a mind-bending approach to the problem. It's really fascinating to me as an approach to problem solving, and in the tact you've taken in developing the Rani Pill. What is the Rani Pill?
So let me start by the premise that led to this. I asked a very simple question. I said, why can't we have a pill that goes into the intestine and delivers a pain-free injection? And that was the question I started with. And that question, it has taken several years to answer that question. And we have great data. So the premise was create a capsule that is like a tiny robot, very low cost, and survives the stomach acid, goes into the intestine, and then it transforms itself into an injection and delivers an injection in the intestinal wall. And the intestinal wall doesn't have the sharp pain receptors that we have in our skin, so the injection is pain-free. And the other thing that we solve at one stroke is that because we are injecting, we're no longer limited by molecular weight, and because we are injecting, bioavailability or absorption of the drug is similar to a subcutaneous injection. So it's a pretty amazing technology that works across all biologics. We have tested 9 different biologics so far in both animal models and uh, one or two in humans. We did a phase 1 study last year with one of our molecules.
Well, walk me through the process. What actually happens when someone swallows a Rani Pill?
So the Rani pill has an enteric coating, which took us 2 3 years to develop. It's a special type of pH sensitive coating and only dissolves at higher pHs. So in the stomach, where the pH is relatively low, it's very acidic. The coating doesn't dissolve, and it protects the components inside the Rani pill. So after a while, it goes from the stomach to the intestine. Now, the intestinal pH in humans is more than 6.2 approximately. Um, and the coating is designed to dissolve at a pH of anywhere 5.5 or higher. So once in the intestine, the coating starts to dissolve and it exposes the components to gastric fluid, intestinal fluid. Now, in that system really is a balloon, a plastic balloon, which is kind of folded up into inside the capsule. And inside the balloon, there are two chemical reactants that are separated by a pinch valve. So imagine taking a balloon, putting two chemicals, one on each side, and pinching it. And what that does is it keeps them separate. And when they do mix, when they're exposed to the gastric fluids, carbon dioxide is produced, and that's what inflates the balloon. So it's a self-inflating balloon, and it works very, very reliably. It's amazing how accurately it works, and the chemistry is very simple. It's uh, alka-seltzer chemistry.
What were some of the other technical challenges other than getting the coding right? I mean, there seems to be a an amazing bit of technology and intelligence built into this.
That's absolutely true. So one of the other conditions I imposed on this was I didn't want to use metal needles. When you think of an injection, you think of a metal needle, hollow needle, and delivering a liquid through the needle. That's what most people would think about. And I did the same thing. And then I quickly, when I said I don't want metal needles, so I said, okay, if I want something that is dissolvable, that goes away, I can't possibly push a liquid through it because the liquid will start dissolving the needle. So I came up with a concept of creating a hollow needle made out of sugar. Initially, we started using an injectable grade sugar, and we took the drug in dry form, compressed it into the pill, into the sugar rather, into the sugar needle, and the hollow sugar needle filled with the drug was delivered by the balloon completely into the intestinal wall, and the needle and the drug would both get absorbed. So that's what we came up with, and it's easier said than done, as most things are. And it took us a while to figure out the exact materials to make the needle from. How do you take biologics and safely put them into a hollow needle? So the whole range of issues that we solved, and along the way we had to create custom machinery and equipment and manufacturing processes that allowed us to make sterile needles and keep the drug sterile in the capsule until it was delivered.
There's also a digital aspect to the pill. What information does it provide, and how does that enhance its value?
So the digital aspect of it is an optional feature, which basically transmits a signal to the cell phone, patient's cell phone, and through the cell phone to the cloud, where it's aggregated from all the patients. So it's a way of tracking compliance in, once you have an approved product. But its greatest benefit or use would be during clinical trials, that if you want to know that the patients are taking the drugs uh, at the appointed time, they're not missing a dose. These clinical trials are expensive, and so you have people missing doses or forgetting to take the dose. It can create noise in the data. So this is an optional feature, and for high value drugs, where some of these drugs are incredibly expensive, this the payers may require monitoring to make sure that the drug is actually being utilized.
When I think of the way biologics are delivered today, I, I often think of large volumes of fluid that wouldn't easily fit into the pill. Are there formulation and dosing challenges you need to address to make this work?
Yeah, yeah. So that was exactly one of the reasons why we decided to go with solid drug, because the actual drug, let's say in a liquid one cc uh, liquid injection, might be very small. So, for instance, if we are delivering insulin, we can deliver significant number, maybe up to 80 units in one capsule, and because the powder, when you concentrate it, the pure drug substance is actually doesn't occupy that much space. Now, there are drugs that need to be delivered in higher volume, and we are developing next generation Rani pills with greater capacity.
The Rani Pill has actually been through the first test in humans. In January, reported results from a phase one study of a Rani Pill version of octreotide. What is octreotide?
So octreotide is a drug that is used for the treatment of two conditions, rare conditions. One is called acromegaly, and that's a rare condition where there is an excess of growth hormone, and so the joints continue to grow and they become very painful. So this basically blocks the secretion of some of the growth hormones. And the second application of that is in a type of cancer called neuroendocrine tumors. These are gastrointestinal tumors. So it's a sizable market, but these patients have to inject themselves, and daily or weekly, and these are incredibly painful injections. Um, and So we're converting those into a daily pill, a pain-free daily pill,
What makes it such a painful injection?
because this particular drug has to be delivered in the muscle, and so they recommend that it be delivered in the buttocks with a so it's patients describe it with colorful language. Which is not very complimentary of the of the delivery system, and where it is delivered. So it is a very painful injection, unlike a insulin injection, which is delivered with a small needle just below the skin.
So, is that why you looked at this as a first indication to go after?
We actually decided to bring in and develop several drugs that are off patent. One of the challenges always in biopharmaceuticals is, when you, especially for us, when we're trying to develop our own drugs, which drugs should we develop? And we found that there are several drugs like insulin, GLP-1, uh, human growth hormone, octreotide, parathyroid hormone. All these are off-patent drugs, and they're available from really credible suppliers. So we don't have to get into the manufacturing of the drug business. We can just buy the drug substance and manufacture a pill. So we chose octreotide for a variety of reasons. We debated whether to go after insulin or GLP-1, and we might do that in the future. But this was also was a rare disease we were going after. So if we were to take it to phase three, it would be a much smaller clinical trial. So for a variety of reasons, we chose this.
And from a regulatory point of view, does the FDA look at this as they would a new drug? Is this a drug device combination?
Yeah.
What's the regulatory path for you?
So this is a very interesting question. This falls in as a drug device combination, and we've had a number of meetings and conversations with the FDA, and they have given us a clear path to getting the platform tested, and then subsequent to that, testing it with specific drugs. So that would speed up the approval of the existing drugs that we want to deliver orally. And one of the interesting things is that because it's an injection, and in most cases, we don't have to change the dosage. So that makes it easier from a regulatory standpoint. So same dose and delivered differently. Other forms of, oral forms of delivery has been challenging because the highly variable absorption, that 1% absorption that I mentioned, the variability is 200%, 300% variability from one dose to the next. We have our dosing is within 3 to 5% accuracy every single dose. So we have a much better control over how much drug is inserted.
Does that mean that it's a more cost effective way to deliver these drugs as well?
Absolutely. You're not throwing away 99% of the drug. So the cost of goods is lower. And the other thing that is important to note here is the capsule technology. The cost of goods there is also incredibly low. As I described earlier, we have a plastic balloon, some chemicals that inflate it, and a needle containing the drug, and a coating on the capsule. So not a lot of expensive stuff, and so the capsule cost of goods is really small, and we use the drug very efficiently.
And from a business strategy point of view, is the idea that you would partner with drug developers, or is the intent to pursue your own pipeline of therapeutics on your own?
So that's a great question. So we have a dual prong approach. One is to partner with large pharma companies, and we have collaborations with Novartis and Takeda on some specific drugs, and we also have a collaboration with a Chinese pharma company. And in addition to those collaborations, we're in discussions with 5 or 6 additional large pharma companies in US and Europe about potentially putting their drugs on our platform. And in addition to all that, we have 5 or 6 molecules that are off patent that are accessible to us without going through large pharma that we can develop on our own. So we're doing both things, developing our own drugs and offering our platform doing the formulation work for partners' drugs, and developing that.
And as you think about building your pipeline, how do you select and prioritize indications? Are there drugs or indications that are better suited for this than others?
Yeah, I think one of the uh, uh, limitations or parameters we are looking for internal development is off-patent drugs, and so that sort of limits the universe of drugs that we have access to, and then within that we prioritize different diseases, where the need is greatest, where I'll give you one example. We are attempting to convert factor VIII, which is used by hemophilia patients, 2 or 3 times a week. They have to inject themselves in the vein. It's not a sub-Q injection; it's an intravenous injection. So these patients have to find their vessels and inject themselves 3 times a week. And if we can convert that into an oral, that'll be a huge benefit to the patients. So we look at the impact to patients and the improvement in outcomes, and availability of drugs to us. So that's the criteria we're using, and um, It's actually the problem we have is we have so many choices, and being a small company, we have to carefully prioritize which areas we're going to go after.
Mir Imran, Chairman and CEO of Rani Therapeutics. Mir, thanks so much for your time today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks for listening. The Bio Report is a production of the Levine Media Group. To automatically download this podcast each week, subscribe to our RSS feed or through iTunes or other podcast manager. To join our mailing list, go to levinemediagroup.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line or are interested in sponsoring this podcast, send email to danny@levinemediagroup.com. Special thanks to Jonah Levine, who composed our theme music, and the Jonah Levine Collective, which performs it.